we don't need fixing because we are not cars. Some of us have spent decades with trying to fix ourselves and following the newest prescription how to be this wonderfully awakened, accomplished person that only thinks positive thoughts all of the time, doesn't have problems with anyone ever, isn't bothered by things other humans are bothered with. And some of us went for a while down the Buddhist path, and then the New Age spirituality, then the self-help book on I don't know what. And the thing is, of course, there are some really valuable things in there, but also some tricky things, as I have said before. But what it comes down to, and then one wave is kind of followed by the next, isn't it? Like now we are talking about nervous system regulation all of the time, which has totally its place. But I think if it comes to, like Dr. Ingrid Clayton just said, if it comes to that we are using any of those tools just to run away from our pain and emotions, it's not gonna cut it. And maybe we have been sold on this dream that if we become so spiritually mature, or however you want to call it, or awakened, we don't have to cope with all the pain that comes with human life, and we can just forget about it. And because obviously there's a lot of people who make shitloads of money with exactly that. And I think ads in general and commercials have been built on this idea, okay, you're not okay the way you are, that's why let me sell you this and that. So we have been growing up with this idea in some way, shape or form. And I think it becomes, I don't know, it becomes really difficult if we have really experienced trauma to distinguish between what we can do to heal and what really is helpful versus the things that are not helpful at all, and on the contrary, maybe push us even more down the self-improvement, let me be fixed finally hole. And I can personally say that I've been going down that rabbit hole for a long time. And I have to be very aware of when I'm doing things, because I do also at the same time love psychology. It's always been something I found really interesting, and self-development. So I do have a genuine love for it, but it can be very easily be overtaken by the parts that think we need some, I need some fixing. So I need to be very careful. It's a constant distinguishing why I am doing things and whether they feel actually good to me and they feel like they do something good for me, or it feels like an expansion, or whether it's more out of this desperation, I need to fix. And you know, I think the funny thing is we don't have that in the natural world, you know. I don't think that a cat, for example, wakes up and says, I don't want to be a cat anymore, I want to be a dog. I want to be completely and utterly or something different. And the other thing that also comes to mind is, because I said we are not cars, this whole idea of seeing ourselves or human beings as something that's more like a machine. That's where that word fixing also comes from. And I remember I had a car that was a disaster car. I got it it was used as a gift by my aunt because my other car wasn't really working. And my cousin had found it. It was a right-hand drive. in Germany. And so I drove it back. I was living in England at the time. I drove it back, and the car kind of stopped working 30 kilometers before the ferry port. Engine management light came on, and it literally didn't drive anymore. And then the whole odyssey with that car began. I was stuck in France for 3 weeks. Can you believe it? I just made it back home, and then it had to be towed again. It was constantly in the garage, and I even couldn't sell it because I didn't have it in me to sell it in such a shape, you know, that I would have to pretend it was good. So it was a disaster car. And I think, you know, no matter, there was so much money that went into it, and it was never really right. It never ever was right. And I think that's exactly how we often feel, like we put, you know, the next course we are jumping onto before we show up as ourselves, because we are not okay the way we are. So we spend a lot of money that goes down the drains. Go to this retreat, do this, do this. It's no, it's not fixed yet. It's not fixed yet. We need to do more. We need to do more, and it can be like an addiction, where you just, you know, are caught in the cycle where you've just finished the one thing. Okay, on to the next thing, and we even, it can become such a subconscious thing that we even don't realize what we are doing. That we are kind of on this fixing run, and we become this car that is not fixable, but we also can't just give up on it because we want to drive it. And so the next very, very short story that's very satirical I'm going to share with you is the tongue that wanted to be a lip, because that's what it is about. We just can't be who we are. And the lesson from it is, I think there's a difference between fixing and evolving or growing, you know, and the one thing kind of happens naturally, I think, if we follow our passions and our heart, and the other one comes really from a kind of a desperation and that feeling of not good enough. I think that's a really good distinguishment. And maybe, you know, the realization from all of this is that we come to the point where we just see we are complex human beings. We have fears, we have all sorts of things. They will be with us for our life, and maybe it's more about embracing all that we are and kind of learning to cope with the uncomfortable, painful things that happen in life and the emotions that come along with it, versus trying to be this God-like figure that's above everything. That ain't gonna happen. Sorry, that's the bad news. Okay, I hope you're gonna enjoy the story. Did you hear these really noisy birds, by the way? I thought, how can a bird make so much noise? I think they must have had an argument. Maybe one of them wasn't good enough? I don't know. Anyway, so here comes a small snippet of the story, and let me tell you, are you or have you been caught up in a fixing cycle, and have you gotten out of it? That's it, your creative rebel, Anja. There's a story I want to tell you. It came to me the other day. The story is about the tongue who wanted to be a lip. The tongue was full of self-pity and sadness. It complained about how much it had to put up with. All the things the poor tongue had to taste, but didn't really like. Coffee, Coke, alcohol, and many other things